Hello and welcome to DADCHAT podcast. We are live. This is the original footballing podcast for dads by dads. I got it right this time, Rob.
Yeah, good job. Proud of you.
As things, mate. We just recorded our part 1 episode of Dad's Our Job, where we talk about Daddy DIY. How do you think it went?
I think it was really good. I enjoyed it. I quite like the new setup where we kind of just focus on a thematic thing that goes with being a dad or a partner, and it was good. It gave us a lot to talk about, and some good stories came up as well. Although I think DIY is slightly misleading because, as I explained, I always feel like they're DIY projects rather than DIY projects. So
I said DIY as in DIWHY, as in why the hell are we doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I can completely side with that as well. That would be my go-to default setting anyway. So yeah, but apart from that, pretty good. Good. Oh yeah, no, good. I wanted to tell you a story, didn't I? Before we start talking about all things football, this is football related, and I spoke about this a little bit longer on the first pod, but sadly, last week my father-in-law passed away. He was a very accomplished man and a very successful man. He was a Coldstream Guarder, and he achieved a lot in the army. And from that, he raised 2 very resilient young ladies, my wife, Kelly, who's a head teacher, and her sister, SJ, who is an executive chef in Australia, working at the Cafe Sydney. But this story is a football-related story. He was an absolutely avid Chelsea fan, huge Chelsea fan. He watched reruns of games from 20 years ago. He was completely committed to his football team. And even though he was from Hartlepool, but that's none of my business. All right, I'm not here to judge. But he, we had to, because of where he lives and trying to arrange a funeral and being based down south, we had to clear his house pretty sharp. And one of the things we found was a suitcase that was full of maybe 20 or 30 years worth of Chelsea tops, and 20 or 30
Chelsea tops.
Yeah, he's a Chelsea fan.
No.
Yeah. So he passed away on the Monday, and on the Tuesday Chelsea were playing. Was it Southampton? And was it Southampton? Yes. Yeah. So it's never going to happen again. But we there was about 10 of us in this house, in his sister's house, Valerie's house, in Hartlepool, and we all wore Chelsea tops, and we watched Chelsea win 4-0 or 4-1 as it was, and it was a nice evening. It was quite a nice way to kind of pay him homage. My skin was irritated and it burnt a little bit, and it kind of left me with an eczema. But apart from that, it was quite a nice way to spend the evening and kind of reminisce about him and the way that he was. So not as much regret as I think this is probably about the only reason you could wear somebody else's top if you were going to do it. I wouldn't do it in any other context apart from this. So it was a nice thing to do. I chose a top. I actually chose a top that reminded me of Roberto Di Matteo. So that's my thing.
Did it have cause written on it or something? Or
I can't. It was
autoglass.
I think it might have been the Autoglass one, yeah. And it was a Roberto Di Matteo. I picked it up and I showed SJ, who's also a Chelsea fan. And I was like, Roberto Di Matteo. And she was like, yes. And I went, okay, this is the one I'm going to wear. So he was I just thought Roberto Di Matteo was such a cool player. So that was kind of softened the blow for me a little bit. So Apologies to any Arsenal fans who see that, because I know that if Tabs is watching this, he would be furious with me.
Yeah. Is that why you're wearing your Arsenal top tonight? So you kind of make up for like every minute you wore a Chelsea top. You have to do it every day.
I have to be honest. I've done very well this season. I think I've got 3 tops for this season. So I'm trying to rotate them. I've got this one, which is a training top. I also have the what's the other training top I've got? What colour is that one? Oh, I can't remember. I've got another training top, and then I've also got the kind of the Black Links Africa looking one, the away kit. So yeah, I'm doing okay with Arsenal tops at the moment. I'm going to try and rotate them and I'm on the pod. But yeah, I'm not as ashamed as myself as I thought I would be.
Excellent.
So yeah, there's the story. But yeah, great man. And yeah, thanks, Danny. But yeah, should we talk?
Well, talking of West Ham tops, my dad just celebrated his 60th on Tuesday, and at the weekend we had a little gathering for him, and I gave him his present a bit earlier, and it was the West Ham top of this season with Dad number 60 written on the back. Now, the reason why the West Ham's top is so iconic this year is because it's a nod to the 60th anniversary of West Ham winning the not European Cup, but the Cup Winners' Cup, with Bobby Moore, Brookham, not Brookham, Bobby Moore, Hurst and Peters. I think it was after.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, so funny enough, that kind of spells the anniversary of West Ham Synonymous kit, and it just so happened that my dad was born in March, and then a couple of months later they ended up being champions in Europe. You'll never sing that, and and that sort of yet. So basically that's what we ended up doing. He loved it, but yeah, funny enough, like when you look at it in terms of 1964, West Ham win the FA Cup, and then 1965 they win the Cup Winners' Cup, and in 1966 I think they lost the League Cup to West Brom, I believe. But then in 1966 England won the World Cup, and do you know what happened? Do you know what year it is next year?
What, 2026?
And the World Cup is on, so maybe there is a 60th anniversary of England winning the World Cup. 60 years of hurt, but it might be an anniversary successful year. So let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed. There's definitely the team there and the manager.
Yeah, Mr. Tickle. So, yeah. Tommy Tickle.
He's got some good players. He has. Gareth did as well. But there's some great players at disposal there, and some players that maybe have fallen off form, which will make it easier to pick an 11. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because we're sidetracking already, but people like Anthony Gordon are rising. Saka's still doing, even though he's been injured, Saka has been when he was playing was in incredible form. Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, like the midfield is probably picking itself. Who? Oh, sorry, mate. Basmati.
Basmati Billy Bonds.
But maybe the team is picking itself and making it easier for a manager to pick a team. I actually think it would be quite interesting. One of the things we could talk about later is what might Tuchel's first 11 be. So maybe we can talk about that later as our any other business. So I think there could be quite a lot to be excited about for 2026, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Should we talk Arsenal first, or do you want to talk West Ham first?
No, let's go on with the title of the stream and say 3 strikes, you're out. So Arsenal, unfortunately. Oh yeah, it's been a while, isn't it, Rob? It's been a while, isn't it? I couldn't do it last week, but I think it's only right. I think it's only right for me to share my voice note that I sent you and Callum. Now I've got to find it now, haven't I? But yeah, West Ham actually pulled off a fantastic victory of beating Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, and with a Jared Bowen wonder header against a very deprived and very deflated Declan Rice. But for those that hadn't heard what had happened, please just listen to this.
Has anyone seen Arsenal? Your boys took one hell of a beating. Declan Rice, Rice, baby. Rice, cry, baby. Has anyone seen Arsenal? Your boys took one hell of a beating. Tony Adams, Paul Merson, Thierry Henry, Gunnosaurus, Megasaurus, more like. Your boys took one hell of a beating. Arsenal, are you watching? Highbury, the library, the Emirates, the Emirates, Mikel Arteta. Your boys took one hell of a beating. Whack.
So I feel a bit better now. I feel much better.
Listen, I thought it was funny the first time round, I have to say.
I must admit, I listened to that loads and I couldn't stop laughing. It was funny how, and I'd done it.
Callum was so triggered by that as well, wasn't he?
Oh no. We were like, fuck off, mate.
I mean,
you said you could put that victory in with your empty trophy cabinet?
Yeah, that's what he did say. Yeah, no, because you're not allowed. No, he said you could hang it up on the walls. You're not allowed to put nails in.
That was it. Yeah.
I would like to say I did not do that to you when Arsenal beat West Ham. So
I think but the thing is, it was expected. I was not expecting West Ham to beat Arsenal.
You know what though? I have got some. I did make some. I did think about it, and I watched it back and whatever. I do think Arsenal got what they deserved against West Ham, it was. I suppose we kind of we earned it as well because we were so excited about this Merino 9 project, right? So it kind of brought us back down to earth, and rightly so. But I also think that one of the things that has come out of this, and we have handed West Ham some very heavy beatings over the last couple of years, but I don't think it's just a West Ham problem. I think this is one of Arteta's. I think if you're going to criticize the way that Arteta sets up his teams, I don't think he's quite found a way to nullify teams with the low block and the counter attack. He's very good. He's very good at mid-block teams and teams that come onto you, but the teams that almost park the bus is unfair. But teams who are defending deep and holding the play and then letting Arsenal have the ball, I expect Arsenal to have high percentage anyway. But it's those counter-attacking teams that he doesn't do well against. And actually, Eddie Howe set his Newcastle team up against Arsenal like that, and they beat us both times as well. So I think that if I was going to criticise Arteta, and it's easy to say because I do think that Arsenal's injuries played into this as well. If Arsenal don't have the injuries, I think we walk West Ham in the nicest possible way. But that's a shoulda, woulda, coulda. The reality was we went out on the pitch. We could have and should have beat West Ham, and we didn't. And I think that part of it is that we just haven't quite, or he hasn't quite worked out how to beat the low block yet, or not consistently enough, or against the right teams when we need those wins the most. I did call Bowen having a save. I know that Bowen's pretty much the talisman, but he or Solchuk, which was the link up I suggested might happen. And I think that Solchuk had a role to play in the build-up to your goal as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he did.
And I said that called that might happen. I did say I still called an Arsenal victory, but I did say that if those two showed up, they could probably score, and you did, and that cost us the game against West Ham. And actually, you saw traits of similar things against Forest, and actually, Forest away, a draw at Forest away isn't bad, or isn't that bad, right? But it was made worse because Arsenal had failed to beat West Ham at home. A point away at Nottingham Forest this season is a good result.
I agree with you on that one. I think they're a team in form. I mean, I know how they've been for in previous seasons. You'd like to think, oh yeah, that's guaranteed 3 points. But I think because you can only take them on face value this season, and they're in the top 4 for a reason, aren't they? So, I think it was a very good result. Very well, not a very good result, but as good a result as possible for that.
Yeah, I know that the topic is about 3 strikes and you're out. Do you want me to talk about Man United now, or shall I do the midweek PSV game first?
Do the PSV game.
Okay.
The PSV game.
Well, so just to kind of bring that all together, then West Ham was abysmal, and we played abysmally, and there was some right criticisms made about people like Declan Rice and Odegaard's performances in the game, because they kind of went missing a little bit, and they didn't perform to the standard that we need them to do as the leaders within the team. You've got Odegaard, who is the captain of the team, and you've got Declan Rice, who will probably be the captain of the team at some point in his career. I just feel like that's an inevitable thing for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And they got their criticisms, and actually, I do think things were better against Forest. And it was unfortunate because we did hit the post. It took a left back playing almost striker to do it, but we did hit the post and nearly get something more from the game than a draw. But a draw is still quite respectable against this Forest side. I just think it was made worse by the loss to West Ham. But then you skip a couple of days and you sleep on it and you think things over. I hoped that we would beat PSV. I was expecting us to be able to get through PSV. What I did not expect was what I saw on the pitch, and it was incredible. And look,
so easy, wasn't it?
It was too easy. But let me just iron out the kinks first in this shirt, right? First thing, they hit the post or the bar early on in the game. Secondly, in another world, Lewis Skelly gets sent off. And I just want to say about Lewis Skelly very quickly, because I hate this reputation that he's getting, and I don't think it's fair. He's not experienced at this level. He's getting experience at this level. He's going to be rash, and he's going to make many mistakes. And unfortunately, his mistakes equal cards because he's playing in defence, right? There's lots of things that you can say. I hate this thing about him having 2 red cards already. One of them wasn't a red card. So it's not 2 red cards, it's 1. The red card against West Ham was a red card, right? Straight up, right? But
was it a red card, or was it a foul on Kudus?
Yeah, it was a red card, wasn't it? Was it a second yellow?
No, it was a yellow card that was upgraded to a red because of the position of David Raya up the pitch.
Okay,
but what a lot of Arsenal fans were alluding to were the fact that, did Kudus elbow Lewis Skelly, which made him fall over and make that challenge on Kudus?
Do you know what?
Maybe.
In another world, Adam, that may have been given. They may have come back and gone, actually, there was a foul before on Skelly by Kudus. And in another world, Arsenal get it, right? But they didn't. And actually, it's quite nice to see maybe some lighter decisions not given in context. If it was everyone getting the same sort of decisions, I wouldn't have a problem with it, right? The problem with it is there's no consistency with that either. So you could argue that Kudus does foul Skelly.
Yeah.
Irrespective after that, Skelly definitely fouls Kudus. One is. Do you know what? One is subjective, and I don't really like subjective, but the first one is definitely subjective. What Lewis Skelly then does is not subjective. Like, clear foul. So it was annoying. we swallowed it. We didn't lose against Forest, and we've got him back. So we can work with it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I think he's also a midfielder trying to learn how to play left back. So I'm not ready to be like, oh, he's this vulgar kid who's just trying to make a reputation for himself. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous sort of stance to take. So Who
do you think, out of curiosity, who do you think is a better young left back at the moment? Ollie Scholes or Miles Lewis-Kelly?
Sorry, say it again.
Who do you think is the better young left back at the moment? Like academy promoted academy left back. Who do you think is better, MLS or Scholes at West Ham?
I haven't watched enough of Scholes, so I don't know. It'd be more interesting to see what you think because you will know more about your boy than I do. I actually feel sorry for. I actually thought, based on the season's performances so far, I thought Tuchel would be hashing it out between Lewis Hall and MLS for his first 11.
But I think I think Lewis Hall is injured, isn't he? So he wouldn't be in contention for. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. So I actually feel sorry for Hall because I think he's had blinder of the season, and I thought it'd be between him and MLS for the new generation, and actually having left backs that people want to play. To fight out for Tuchel's first 11. But so I'm not interested in that narrative. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to continue to make mistakes. And the most important fan base, the Arsenal fan base, are behind him. So, there was so much exciting about the game. I just criticised Deckers and Odegaard for their performances against West Ham. Slightly better against Nottingham Forest. Incredible performances against PSV Eindhoven. Odegaard had the assist and 2 goals. Declan Rice was an absolute machine in that game, up and down.
Yeah, I know.
But then you also had Nuneri again, really good. And I just think what that means for us now is that we can go into we've built some good momentum to go in against Man United at the weekend. But also, it might mean that maybe we can just chill out a little bit in the second leg. So
I think there's enough there to rest. Like you've obviously got more youngsters that you want to unearth. It'll be great experience for them, especially having a 6-goal advantage in Champions League. I mean, who's the young kid that's the young striker that's been looking to make a move?
Yeah, so it'd be quite nice to get Ayodeji on the pitch. He's 22. He's not. I mean, he's young, but he's not young in footballing terms, I guess, because footballers are starting 18, 19, aren't they? But I mean, he is young. It would be quite nice for him to get a run out. Arteta is quite funny about these types of things. He hasn't played him at all. I don't think he hasn't really played a lot of football at all for us. But this second leg game is the type of game where it might be good to give him a run out. There's this kind of Zinni and Calafiori experimentation where he started bringing on Zinni on at the left 8 role, and that's working quite nice. And I don't know what the hell Calafiori is doing, but this guy started to look like a prime Italian striker. So that's tongue in cheek. You've got to play Sterling in the second leg from the start, I think, and give Nuneri the day off if you can. But I think the second leg, Arsenal should be winning it or should be going through, right? And then maybe give some people some rest or rotate the squad a little bit and just be safe, like make good decisions. And just for the putting my giving my 2 cents, I would definitely prefer to play Real Madrid, not because I think. Not because I think we're particularly equipped to beat either Madrid sides at the moment, but I think with the way that Madrid will come onto Arsenal, I think we've got a better chance against Madrid than we might against a team like Atletico, which are going to sit. And if Arsenal can't beat a sitting team like West Ham, with the squad that we currently have, we're going to struggle against Atletico. Granted, we're going to struggle against both teams. I could just see us maybe getting something against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
That's just me.
There's a comment here from footycorner_TV. Keep up the good work, chaps. I know you said morning, guys. I didn't know whereabouts in the world you was actually based, but here's your comment, mate. He's the. I think you're talking about Calafiori, right?
Yeah.
He's the least Italian I've ever seen. Just shrugs everything off and runs. I mean, with Calafiori, he's a beautiful man, beautiful, a goddess. Not a goddess. That's the well, debatable. But I think Calafiori, I think is I think West Ham are after him as well at some point. And when I watched him in the Euros for Italy, I was not convinced whatsoever in terms of his ability. I thought he's got too many mistakes in him. He doesn't seem to track back as much, and he does like to get forward. Obviously, if that's down to the academy sort of tuition at Roma, which kind of pushed him up the field a bit more. I think he'll do a job for now, but I don't think he's your long-term successor in that position. I just think there's just too many errors in him, and I think it's one of them signings that he may live to. Oh, right, fair enough. It's from the UK, but it's always morning somewhere. That's a good point. Well, it's evening here, so I like the idea of Calafiori, but I can't see him being best suited for Arsenal. I think it just baffles me as to why you keep buying defenders. It's like you need a striker, and I think the more money you spend on defenders all the time, the least money you got to spend on strikers. And by the sounds of it, I think you need to take on Steve Irons. Irons.
That's
Steve, if you replay to the very start of this video, you'll see the "Has anyone seen Arsenal?" comment that I posted to the boys. So please rewind and have a listen on that. I think you say that, but we had no fullbacks at the start of the season. Footy corner. Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. But
I also think, Adam, that nobody foresaw what MLS was going to do. He was a midfielder and he came in and he was playing left back, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, we've actually got something on our hands here that could change the way that Arsenal play altogether, because he's so comfortable going forward, but he seems to have something in the defence. Like I said, he's going to make mistakes, but I don't think you can't sleep on that. You've got to go with that. And Calafiori is a fighter. He clearly already loves being at Arsenal. He loves it there. And actually, he's quite versatile. He's quite exactly. This is what I'm saying, but he's doing this incredible job.
I thought Rice was the 8 though.
It depends on, but that's the problem. That's why his pathway to the team is blocked, isn't it?
I think if you play MLS as an 8, Rice is your 6. And I think Partey's on the way out.
I still think that's the long-term plan, but then Arsenal also looking at Mendy, aren't they? So, and Ornstein's already sort of tweeted about it. So, Arsenal are looking in a very strong position.
Is Mendy a striker? Or
no, Mendy's a midfielder.
No,
he'd probably switch. He'd probably switch with Rice in the 6 to 8 positions.
It's not bad. Not bad shout, to be fair.
I actually just wanted to pull you on. You talking about Arsenal spending money elsewhere. Arsenal's books are in a really good place, and Arsenal also didn't spend in January. Arsenal can spend on a striker, irrespective of the double pivot. Yeah, but irrespective, Arsenal can spend money on a striker in the summer window. Isak would be an ideal signing. Don't see it. I actually think I could see Arsenal buying Sesko and Nico Williams as opposed to just buying Isak, and Zubimendi as well. I and then the goalkeeper. I could see that being Arsenal's window. The Espanyol goalkeeper, is it Garcia, Zubimendi, Williams, and Sesko? I could see that being a more realistic window than Arsenal just trying to get Isak. I don't know, obviously, but it's just the type of thing that everyone's talking about anyway. Unless Newcastle have to sell because they don't make Champions League, but then they've also got Bruno Guimaraes that they could potentially sell for quite a lot of money too. So,
but then depending on whether Man City win their dispute in autumn this year, I believe it is. There could be some leeway there and precedence for Newcastle to not ever sell and keep spending. Then they're going to keep spending and breach PSR and only pay a minimal fine. Then where's the incentive to keep it sustainable? Because in their eyes, it's a drop in the ocean, the amount of money they're going to spend because of the ownership that they've got. But yeah, it's an argument to say what is sustainable and what isn't. But I think Newcastle, they'll probably ride out the next season pending on what the Man City decision is, and they're in defence of Man City, aren't they? So yeah, it'll be interesting. But we got them coming up, so that'll be an interesting game next. But carry on with Arsenal. So obviously you was in seventh heaven this week with playing in your Rocky Roadcastle kit combination with white shorts this time. That I haven't seen yet.
Did not like the white shorts.
No,
I did not. No, I was not a fan.
No.
But so we had seventh heaven, but now we're on the potential for strike 3. West Ham was strike 1. Nottingham Forest away was strike 2. Although I think that might be a little bit harsh. I personally think that this is now Liverpool's season. I thought if we had got results against Forest and West Ham, we were still in it. I'm still a believer, but I'm also a realist as well. And if Liverpool don't win the league this season, something astronomical has happened. But this would definitely be a strike 3 and you're out. We should win. And Arteta's record cannot be sort of ignored here either. He's now 18-0 against the top 6. So even though Man United are not performing like a top 6 team this year, even though Tottenham are not performing like a top 6 team this year, he's still 18-0 against these teams in the last couple of seasons. The PSV performance will give us great momentum. So I think we will go into that game confident. What I will say, though, and I don't think I'm the only one who's seeing this, but Bruno's form for me is going under the radar. I think Bruno has been really good for Man United over the last couple of months. And he's getting dug out because he's the captain of Man United. You know, if you've seen Roy Keane go off on him a couple of times, right? He's the captain of Man United. He should be, dragging the team and all of that. Bruno annoys a lot of people. And I get it. I get why, right? But I also think Bruno is a captain in the same way that Odegaard is a captain. He's a kind of his performances are his captaincy, right? Whereas if you look at someone like Declan Rice as a captain, he's very vocal. He's physical. He's grabbing people. Look at him and Gabriel grabbing each other and shouting at each other. That's not hating someone. That is camaraderie, that is teamwork, that is expecting the best and telling someone that you expect the best because you expect the best of yourself too, right? That's a Roy Keane type of captain. That's a Patrick Vieira type of captain. The captains that we idolise, the John Terrys, right? Those are the captains that we look up and go, those are banging captains, right? Bruno is not a banging captain. And personally, I'm not even sure Odegaard is a banging captain, right? He was the right choice at the right time. That doesn't diminish their worth. Right. And Bruno's performances have been excellent. He's been involved in almost every he's a bit like what Salah's been doing for Liverpool. He's been involved in everything that Man United are doing in terms of scoring goals. I know that Bruno made a monumental mistake in his is it Europa League game today. I think he had a handball. I haven't watched the game, but I think he made a mistake that cost Man United a goal, right? Dumb stuff happens, right? But in terms of what Man United are producing at the right end of the pitch, he is there all the time. And I would not be surprised if he is the guy that undoes this 18 streak. However, there are some statistics here. I looked at the last 3 away games for Arsenal, and I looked at the last 3 home games for Man United because we're away. So Arsenal's last 3 away games, we drew with Forest, we beat Leicester, and we beat Wolves. All right, and we played a lot of the Wolves game with 10 men. Man United's last 3 home games, they beat Ipswich just. They beat Leicester, and they lost to Palace. 2 of those teams are relegation fodder. So I do think that the favours, the success lies in Arsenal's favour. I think defensively, in terms of the midfield, they will be too strong for a leggy Man United midfield and a very kind of disjointed defence. But going forward, well, I agree with you, Steve. I think it's crazy. So those people are impressions to me. Those people are just impressions people.
Yeah. The comment there is from Steve. It cracks me up when Arsenal fans talk about getting rid of Arteta. Yeah, I think I think it's just the high level of expectation that's been infused off the foundation of what Arteta has brought back, hasn't it? Because we talk about this a lot of time, or you and Callum talk about it a lot of times, is the fact that he's brought back or introduced a positive vibe and atmosphere at the club, which all the fans are on board with. I mean, before that, you say that the atmosphere was quite dry under Emery and even towards the final days of Wenger. But I think it's you can't be so dismissive of Arteta, of what he's done to this club. Maybe it might get to a point where he probably thinks, you know what, I've taken this club as far as I can, but what a foundation to build the club up from. You know, like you've got a lot of legacy players there, but he ain't finished yet. Like he's got he's got his whole career ahead of him. He's probably got like another 4 years left in him at Arsenal, maybe, and he's desperate to succeed there. And you know, I think any success that he brings to that club will be well worth its value.
I think if anyone who doubts how much Arsenal means to Arteta, watch him in his final interview as a player for Arsenal, and you'll see how much he loves that club.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, he was purchased under Arsene Wenger, wasn't he? And he had to adapt to the love, and you know, he become a fan of the club anyway. Like even when he went coaching under Pep Guardiola at Man City, and every time Man City scored a goal against Arsenal, he's just there on the bench because you know he couldn't celebrate or nothing because it's so rooted in them, you know. Whereas you get some footballers where they play for certain clubs, they actually adapt to it, and then they go out to other clubs or bigger clubs, and then they don't really give a crap about their old clubs that they used to play for. I'll give you a good example. Rio Ferdinand, like we made him the academy, you know, we made that player, and then as soon as an offer come in from Leeds, he jumped ship, and he was there for a short term and went to Man United. But like, he's all Man United, this Man United, and he comes across being a West Ham, you know, academy product and a love for the club, but he doesn't show it. He's more Man United because of what he's been brought up to do under one of the best managers in the world. So yeah, you know, I say you need managers like that who are going to take their love away. And I think, sadly, I don't ever think Arsenal will have the same amount of love as West Ham in Declan Rice's eyes. Like, I know he plays for Arsenal, he wants to win trophies, but I just think he just loves us more. He's with you because he's more. It's more of a competitive environment for him to succeed in what he wants to be.
Maybe.
And,
maybe. I mean, that's these types of things are subjective, aren't they? Like I think, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? Jack Wilshere was at Arsenal, and he's been around, but Arsenal is home. Yeah. So, you know, if for Declan Rice, West Ham is home, that's fine. He's going to be adored at Arsenal, irrespective. You know, there's a few idiots on social media and whatever, but otherwise, he's going to be absolutely adored at Arsenal. And if he loves West Ham more, that's absolutely fine, as long as he's putting in the performance that he puts in. You know, I can't tell him who to support. You know, I used to love Nigel Winterburn. He supported Leeds. Patrick Vieira wasn't an Arsenal supporter before he joined Arsenal, was he? Like, you know,
no, that's what I mean. In terms of having a manager that brings in a player to that club, and then it's also the ownership as well, because like David Dean was one for that, getting the French players over that Wenger wanted. I think Patrick Vieira come over before Wenger, didn't he?
It was a Bruce Rioch. It was a Bruce Rioch signing, but it was a Wenger sort of leeway.
Yeah, yeah, but that it's having owners and the senior staff showing that love to the players in the first place for them to actually love it. I mean Pablo Fornells, for instance, for West Ham, and we brought him in from Villarreal. He was like a young Spanish kid, didn't know whatever, but he grew and he got educated on the club and knew what it meant. And in his final full season at the club, he got West Ham into winning a European trophy, third tier, admittedly, but he got what it meant to the fans, and it gave him more passion on the pitch. And West Ham fans will forever adore him for that. And I think even now you get West Ham fans going out to the Seville area where Real Betis and that play, and they've got Spanish flags with hammers on there saying Pablo Fornells, and he's going up there and signing them and stuff, and that means a lot, you know. Like
By the same token, you know, you won't find many Arsenal fans talking dirty about Bellerin.
Yeah,
like came over from Barcelona's youth team as a 17-year-old, I think, ended up sounding like a North Londoner, right?
Yeah.
When he spoke, and you know, it was just unfortunate that an injury really, a bit like Diaby, an injury just kind of really stalled the right back that he could have been. You know, because he was incredible. He really was. He had a couple of injuries before that, but you don't really find many people talking dirt about people like him. So,
what's your thoughts on at the weekend when you've got Man United on Sunday?
I'm going to say it's a 2-1. I think it will be 2-1. Arsenal will win. I think it is going to be a horrible game. Arsenal, Tottenham, Arsenal United are the games that I personally look forward to and hate watching the most. I don't like losing to Man United because that early Premier League legacy lives with me and will stay with me probably more so because, you know, like Danny's generation will be like hating City forever, right? Or whatever. Okay. But 4-1, I'm here for it. If that happens, I'll be more than happy. But that is the game that, you know, Tottenham and Arsenal, and then Man United and Arsenal, they were the games that stressed me out the most as a kid, and then the games that stress me out the most now. So
even Chelsea, under Jose Mourinho and stuff,
yeah, that stuff traumatized me, man.
Yeah. No, but in fairness, like they elevated themselves, didn't they? And they kind of took Arsenal's spot, didn't they?
They
and
did. They did.
Yeah, when they brought in Drogba and that, and couldn't do that. But I'm going to go for a Desmond, I think, and I think that is 3 strikes, you're out for Arsenal this year, and then you can fully focus on your Champions League campaign and try and remain in the top 2, top 3. I think Man United now are starting to get that sort of run, and they're still in 2 cup they're still in.
It's a run where they're not playing well either. Like they're winning games, they're not playing well.
Yeah, so, and it's like Liverpool, isn't it?
Point.
Liverpool got absolutely battered last night at PSG, and then they got a smash and grab from Harvey Elliott, didn't they? And you know what I mean. I think with them being in Europa League.
Up to that point, they had a 0% XG, Liverpool. Before that goal.
Yeah, it just shows that XG is just a useless stat, isn't it? You're expected to score 0 goals, but you win 1-0. It's just completely
no. Sorry. Up to the Elliott goal, they had a 0% XG. So they didn't even
well.
their chance. They didn't have anything on goal really, apart from that.
Yeah, then PSG had something like 4.3 XG or whatever, and it's like, but they didn't score. Like,
Alisson
we're
incredible.
expected to score this. It don't mean nothing. I think so you're saying 2-1. I'm saying 2-2. And yeah,
who was it that said 4-1?
Footy Corner Sparks.
Footy Corner. I like Footy Corner's attitude. Let's talk West Ham because we have spoken for 45 minutes about Arsenal. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, but half of that was me saying, "Has anyone seen Arsenal?"
It was.
Yeah, so going from no wins in your last 2 games. I mean, West Ham. If I haven't mentioned it already, we beat Arsenal 1-0 in your backyard, and then we followed that up with a win against Leicester City, which was the most drab game I've ever seen and encountered in my life. But we were playing a team that had already given up the ghost in terms of a survival or relegation fight. So we beat them 2-0. But this is the first time this season that West Ham have had back-to-back wins and back-to-back clean sheets this season. So obviously, things are starting to progress well under Potter now. He's got 2 really good results, I think, in terms of steering us away from relegation. It's laughable that we're even talking about it. But it's always a possibility. We're 7 points away, I think, from the magic 40 point mark. But the next game we got is Newcastle, and Newcastle have suspensions and injuries that could bite them on the backside. And they've also got a Carabao Cup final the following week against Liverpool, so they will probably will likely rest a few players, considering they're in a pretty healthy position in the league anyway. But I wouldn't write them off. I mean, we went up there earlier in the season and actually beat them 2-0 from an expected loss. But I think Newcastle will give us a game. But there's a good possibility that we could make it 3 wins in a row and potentially have 3 clean sheets as well, which I think is the first time ever that's happened in the Premier League for West Ham. So. Yeah, I think I fancy us. I fancy us at the weekend, and I think there's we're starting to see the wheels in motion in terms of what Potter's philosophy is. Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Well, one for you for your books. So
yeah, very good, very good, very good, very good. If I'd known we were doing book puns, I'd have been all over it.
I tell you, we haven't had a back-to-back clean sheet victory since 1985. See what I did there?
The year before I was born. That. All right. So okay.
I think you just blasé in the pun joke there, yeah.
No, what was the pun? I missed it.
1985 book. Anyway, go on.
It's 1984, mate.
Oh, whatever. You knew what I meant.
Right. Anyway. You can't do that to Orwell. I actually ordered an Orwell sweatshirt the other day.
What? That's the green duck, isn't it?
No. So
that's Orville.
I've got about 3 copies of 1984 on my bookshelf, and
you've got George Orwell, and it's got "I wish I could fly."
No, that's what it says. It says it's a massive eye. And it says like an eye, not
Big
eye.
Brother's watching you.
Yeah, and then it says make Orwell fiction again. So I was like, buy that. If that doesn't show you my political allegiances, I don't know what does. Right, okay. So I agree with you. I think this depends. I think Gordon being out and Lewis Hall being out really opens up the left side. No, really opens up their left side, your right side. If I was Bowen, I'd be like this.
Yeah, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well.
Is that the same way? Am I on the right side? No.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, their left-hand side, which would be our right-hand side. So Bowen and Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Yes.
And even Kudus.
Oh, mate, can you imagine so that is this is where, so if I'm looking at the game, that's where West Ham win the game for me, right? is getting down the left side because they're going to have maybe Dan Burns, who's tall. And I'm sorry, hang on. Dan Burns is a good defender, right? But he's not performed like Lewis Hall has this season, and he doesn't offer what Lewis Hall has this season. And then they've lost Aaron Gordon, which means maybe Harvey Barnes, who hasn't played a lot of football. So that really opens up opportunities for West Ham down that side. The only thing I would say is, if Isak's playing, I do think you're going to struggle. So that's because I know that Isak has had the injury, and do they play him? Do they risk him because they would prefer to win the final than maybe a game against West Ham? Like, it's hard to say, right? But I do think there's opportunities down that right-hand side for West Ham now. So I do think West Ham, I do think they could win the game. For me, it's just depending on what the hell Isak does when he shows up, if he shows up and if he plays. So if he plays, I think you will lose the game.
He played last time this season. We were beaten 2-0.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but he's in better form this time.
Yeah, but he's come back from an injury.
It was a knock. It wasn't much.
He's been out for a few games though, hasn't he?
Well, yeah. I don't know.
I love Isak. I love Isak a lot. I mean, even when he was at Borussia Dortmund as a youngster, I thought, he's a talent. But yeah, I think I'm not saying we're going to steamroll them, but I think it'll be a very hard game, only because we make it hard for ourselves most of the time. But if we end up playing a 5 at the back again with Skulls, Cresswell, Kilman, Tadibo, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I mean that is a pretty solid back line, with Mavropanos coming in and even Emerson coming in as well. Isak out 2 games. Yeah, that's fair enough. But the bit that gets me is still our midfielder situation, because obviously Paquetá is injured. He'll be out for another couple of weeks at least. Souček always seems to start, and I agree with that, because I think he does a lot of the engineering in the middle of the park in terms of running and tracking and putting pressure on players. I think he's always running. His distribution can be debatable at times, but if you want someone to put the pressure on by being up someone's backside when they've got the ball in position, I think he's that person for it. James Ward-Prowse has to play for me, because I think we've lacked that sort of deep creativity and link-up play with the back line. And I think Alvarez has been his biggest.
But also, they are going to be able to. You're going to be able to get at Newcastle as well if you play James Ward-Prowse, because that's not. Newcastle's defence is all over the place. They've lost Hall, and they've just had Sven Botman go out for another. Because he's having a knee injury. Is he having a knee surgery? No,
he's out as well. Yeah.
So if you look at their just off the top of my head, their available resources then are Burns, Trippier, which means the left side opens up now because Trippier is not what he was. Then they're going to play. Who's going to play in the middle for Newcastle?
For Newcastle, you probably got Guimaraes. You've got
defense. You've got Trippier on the
defense.
The right.
Fabian Schär,
and is Lascelles still there?
I think he is, but I don't know if he's actually. Playing or not, but can have a look. Sorry, this is live action.
I think West Ham will score goals. I think it's going to be a 2-2. I think it's be a Desmond.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think
it's out, but if it's about Isak, I think if Isak plays, I think you'll lose.
Yeah, I think they're playing. Yeah, so when you look at their back 4, actually, it's not actually that bad. I think they've got Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, Livramento. I forgot about Livramento.
Yeah. Oh, they could play Livramento. Yeah. Yeah,
he's an ex-Chelsea youth academy player who went to Southampton, so he'd be pretty good.
Pretty good player,
yeah. And then you've got Lewis Miley, Bruno Guimaraes, and Willock. This is their predicted lineup, by the way. Jacob Murphy, again, you know what? Jacob Murphy, he gets a lot of stick, but I think he is one of those players that just always offers something in the game, or he pops up with one goal and assist and stuff like that. Like he basically a bit of an unknown, kind of gets up. I think he's a very underrated player.
He's not like a sexy signing, isn't it? It's not like when you're. I think because isn't he a? Did he come through the Newcastle academy?
No, he come from Norwich, I think.
Oh, okay. See, this is what I mean.
His brother at Norwich.
Oh, okay. See what I mean? It's just not like a sexy signing, and he just, like you say, he kind of goes under the radar, and unfairly actually, because he's a decent player, and he keeps making.
Scored some very important goals. Very important goals.
And he keeps making
if they're going to score anywhere on that right hand side, it'll be from him. And then on the other side, you've got Harvey Barnes, who always seems to stick it against us when he's fit, but he's had a massive injury problem for the past couple of years. So, and then Callum Wilson could probably be their forward up front. So, and again, he loves scoring against West Ham. That always needs that bit of magic.
Is that the predicted 11?
That's a scouted 11 on Fantasy Football Scout website. So they play a 4-3-3, and that's how they're lining up. But yeah, again, looking at that sort of lineup, yeah, I could probably see that happening, and Isak coming in. But yeah, I think with our sort of lineup, it'll be the same as what it has been the past few games. 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, and then 2 up top with Bowen and Kudus. Still no room for Evan Ferguson. Again, I think he's still not up to scratch yet, but I think he is a long-term sort of option for us. I hope we buy him, but then it's been mooted by Brighton this week that they want £60 million for him. I can't see us paying it. And I think he'll probably return and go somewhere like Chelsea. I could just see that happening. But
do you know what,
Potter's
banging signing for Chelsea, they do.
Yeah, but then who do they get rid of? They've got Nkunku, Jackson.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for me. But if we could get Ferguson for about 40 million, I think that's probably about the right with add-ons. I think was probably the right fair price for him.
I think it would just depend on what he does for you guys over the next couple of months. Because if he does well, then other people, if he does well, he's the type of player that maybe Man United should be looking at or something like that.
Exactly.
A decent target man, because Højlund is not it. Xerxes is actually performing better, but he's having a bit of like a Joe Linton, isn't he? It's not working out up front. We're just going to push you back a bit. And he's playing better in that kind of 8 role, actually, than he was ever as a 9. So I think that Xerxes might have a chance, him and Bruno, behind an Evan Ferguson type. I think they're looking at Osherman as well, Man United, but behind that type of player, they're going to probably have to sell because of their financial stuff. And it looks like they might sell Mainu to create the monies. He could fit behind that, in front of those two, couldn't he? And Bruno, honestly, mate, Bruno would feed him all day. He really would. So, but hopefully that doesn't happen and he goes to West Ham.
yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, score predictions. I'm torn between a draw and a win. I mean, I think for me the most important thing for West Ham is not losing a game rather than having to win it. I think it's about being momentum, maintaining the momentum to the end of the season of being a team that's hard to beat. I'm torn between a 1-1 or a 2-1 win. So that's just how I just think with Newcastle playing in the Carabao Cup final after this game, I think that it might play into our hands a little bit, maybe. That's how I feel. It'll be a very tight win, or it'll be a 1-1 draw.
I think it'll be a 2-2. Yeah, I don't think you'll keep a clean sheet. Yeah. I just don't think you'll keep a clean sheet.
As much as I'd like to, again for setting the standards by Potter, having 3 clean sheets in a row, I think that would be amazing. But I think it's probably too much of an ask at the minute. Still with a squad that he's not fit. But there's other injury news that Nicholas Fulkrug has just returned to training, so there could be a late fitness test for him, but it might be just one game too soon for him. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Okay.
But yeah. So, is there any? Obviously, we'll put this out to we'll discuss a certain topic, but if there's any questions that our viewers want to drop down in the comments box, just drop us a question and we'll answer it as quickly and eloquently as possible. But I think staying on West Ham a little bit and the news this week about Lucas Paquetá's upcoming FA hearing, a lot of the media outlets are saying it's not going to be the best of outcomes for Lucas Paquetá. What's your general thoughts on that, Rob? About West Ham's Maverick?
Yeah, I think so. I've followed the story as a layman, if you like. I've just kind of listened to it when it's been talked about, but because I'm not a West Ham fan, I'm not particularly invested. I think by the sounds of it, it's a little bit. It doesn't sound as concrete as it needs to be, or it doesn't sound like it's as easy to make concrete as it needs to be. So I don't know. I mean, the FA seem to think they've got enough to get him banned for life. So that's a pretty steep consequence. If that's the way they're going, they must think they've got something that holds or sticks. I think if it does happen, I think it would be a real shame for West Ham. I wouldn't have much sympathy for Paquetá if he was found guilty. I do
the same opinion. I think.
I do hope he's not found guilty. I do hope he's found not guilty. I suppose. Yeah, I mean I don't really have, other than the obvious kind of like, well, if he's not guilty, I hope he's not found guilty. I don't really have, much of an investment. It's more about what West Ham fans are talking about, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I was listening to TalkSport with Jim White and Simon Jordan, and Simon Jordan was basically not caning him, but basically he's holding Lucas Paquetá accountable for putting the sport into jeopardy and putting West Ham under jeopardy. I mean, I don't disagree with it in a way, because I think if he has gone out there to purposely get booked, there's a potential there that West Ham, he could get another one and be sent off, and then West Ham end up being the sufferers because of that, by playing with a man down and then potentially losing the result. And there's a lot of reports there about he's influencing games for changing the outcomes of games. Now, we don't really know the full story of Paquetá about this. I mean, obviously, there's been irregular betting patterns that have happened in Brazil under Betway, of all the betting companies to raise it, and it happens to be in Paquetá's home island and his uncle front and centre. And the betting that's been going on is not massive amounts. I mean, you think about it, like comparison to what Paquetá earns a week is 150 grand a week. The bets and money that's been exchanged is something around about the £100,000 mark, all bets combined. So if Paquetá was doing it for a return to help people out, you would think the return would be far greater than that. So there's always that needs to be put into mind. But then there's also other factors where in Brazil, there's always, or in South America, that not just in Brazil, but in South America, there's always kidnappings, there's always gang mafias, there's always people in the ears of professional sportsmen. Like, for instance, we don't know that Lucas Paquetá's uncle has owed a little bit of money to the mafia. And they found out that his nephew is a Premier League superstar that's just won a European Cup. So they've probably got in his ear roll and said that we're going to hurt your uncle if you don't do this, and then puts him under pressure, and then he has to do it. Like, there's that sort of thing happens all the time, and especially in in the early years of like the NFL or basketball, when there's always been mafioso that's told players that have got themselves into debt to throw a game or do something on this minute to repay off a debt. So we don't know the full ins and outs of that. I mean, again, that's just an allegation that may not be true, but I wouldn't put it past there being that sort of potential in it. But they're talking about a lifetime ban if he's proven guilty. And if I'm completely honest, I don't believe the FA have enough evidence to give a full lifetime ban, because one, they took all these information, all these records, all these phones and everything, and then after they finished with it, they sent it all back. But then a month later, they asked for his phone back. Now, sure, and basically he came back and said, I haven't got the phone anymore. Right. So obviously if it's gone into other people's hands, then they've also got his information and stuff. So he's got rid of his old phone and got a new one to protect his identity. But there's that sort of thing that it doesn't give me confidence that the FA are doing their due diligence in it properly if they haven't gone through his information and found something, or they've missed something. It's just a bit negligent, I think, in the FA, and I kind of lose a lot of faith in that process. And then they're saying, oh yeah, he's going to be banned for it. But also, I think the delayed hearing that should have been November, got delayed to March, and that coincides with the hearing in Brazil. So the hearing in Brazil has happened, but there's not really been a lot of, you can point the finger at Paquetá and say he is 100% guilty on this. So it's always that factor to it. But yeah, it does impact a lot of people's lives. The Paquetá family have moved out of their house in Hornchurch and moved into a secure flat facility in East London. Because now they're under pressure of people in gangs or whatever that could target them. The worst case scenario or worst possibility or outcome could happen to Paquetá still personally. So hopefully that never happens. But this is the sort of people that we're potentially dealing with, and I think the FA needs to be a bit more sympathetic to the situation that he's in.
Do you think that also this could be like an effort from the FA to look busy doing something and punishing something that isn't is an obvious no? It just kind of so Footy Corner at about 10:15 just said, is betting really the biggest issue in football by players? And if we just make it about the Premier League, then is this really the biggest issue in the Premier League right now? Or is it just something that makes us look like we're busy, so we're punishing something that isn't okay? Like you said, there's no smoke without fire, and there is probably something to this. Banning someone completely from football then means, and you have to be absolutely certain if you're going to do that, right? But then also West Ham could then sue him for... And I'm only quoting Simon Joyce.
That's a commercial,
But there's the commercial stuff, there's the contractual stuff, there's the payback in weight, whatever, right? They could then turn around and sue him. So you have to be absolutely 100% certain that this guy is cheating, right? Because otherwise, you're not just going to cripple someone's income and their capacity to play football, but then you're going to turn that around and West Ham are going to be out of money, and they're going to have to then be like, well, we're suing him. This opens up a massive can of worms, really.
Is it cheating, though? To me, is he cheating to win a game? He's not losing a game. All he's doing is he's impacting a game. Well, I say he is. I'll say that the action is impacting the game, which could cause a suspension. So, to me, it's such a hard thing to kind of determine, isn't it? Is him getting a yellow card going to make West Ham lose the game? And so it's just so hard, isn't it? It puts it in doubt, doesn't it?
No, it's not hard. It's not hard. Is it cheating? Yes, right. It is cheating because you are influencing the game in some capacity. It doesn't matter what the capacity is. There is an influence on the game that was unnecessary, right? It is cheating. But the bigger picture for this is this really the biggest issue, like Footy Corner's saying? And probably not. No, it's not. This is not the biggest thing in football right now. There is much more important things going on. I'm not saying that if he's not found guilty, he should be punished. He absolutely should be found. If he is found good, he should absolutely be punished. But
we've said that
like
loads of times on the podcast.
Absolutely, this is exactly the same thing, isn't it? Like there is more. There is more going on. Like the Man City stuff is coming to a head in August. What the hell Chelsea are doing? Footy Corner's just said that he will be insured.
From
that's
what
fine.
though? What insurance was what? Like I know, yeah, he'll be insured if he's injured. There's no insurance there to say, oh, I could be potentially spot fixing, so can I get a payout for that, please? Like no insurance is going to pay out for a player being found guilty for spot fixing. They'll be like, no. That's basically saying, oh, I'm gonna get car insurance, but then I'm not insured to drive. It's just not going to happen. Like it's not qualified to drive even, but it's that sort of thing, isn't it? But in terms of the punishment, well, is betting really the biggest issue? I think betting does have an influence on it, but I think it's a bit hypocritical because I think there's like over 50% of clubs in the Premier League have betting sponsors. There's betting advertising all the way around. You're seeing halftime adverts of Paddy Power saying, "Oh, get 11-2 on Harry Kane to score next," or get this for the next goal scored or whatever. Like there is a subtle encouragement to take up a good offer on a bet. You know, like it does affect the fans more. And the rule, I know this firsthand, but like anyone in the FA goes from that works for the FA, that is a groundsman, is a footballer, is a coach, is a tea lady, cannot place a bet ever, because they're part of that footballing association, right? So they've stopped that, and then they've also stopped the professional footballers placing bets. Now let's go back to the Ivan Toney situation where he got banned for 8 or 9 months betting on games, on outcomes that he was changing, right? Now, the outcomes that he was changing were positive outcomes for the team he was playing for. It wasn't like he was going to get sent off or he was going to score an own goal or something like that. He backed himself. He bet on himself to like say, you know what? I fancy scoring 2 today. I'm going to put a bet on me scoring twice today. Now, that's probably spot fixing in his own profiteering method, but he's influencing that by his motivation in the game. So there's a precedence there to say, well, that is technically spot fixing, but it's also in breach of the betting rules. So, but with Paquetá, he's not put money down on himself to bet a yellow card. So this is where the grey area comes in. So the FA had evidence of Toney making those bets to punish him. There's no evidence of Paquetá placing his own money on these bets. So this is going to be a very, very sticky case, I think. But you know, my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen, I think he will be banned, but I don't think it'll be a lifetime ban. I think it'll be a 9-month slap on the wrist, and I think the FA have to do that because the government are involved with the white papers, with a footballing governing body, because they're the ones that want to have something in there to control the football. And the sustainability of the financial side. So I think the FA will punish Paquetá only because it's a make an example of someone. Well, someone did go him up for the corner. It was Betway. Betway had the alert on their system, and they sponsor West Ham United. So it just so happened, it's just a bit coincidental that Betway, as a sponsor, has grassed up our star player at West Ham United. So it's just how it works.
I think that's probably about as good as an outcome that everyone can hope for. Other than maybe, I mean, obviously Paquetá would hope for a completely clear. Someone has grassed him up.
Yeah.
Who grassed him up?
It was Betway.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was Betway, yeah. But yeah, and the same thing for Tonali. Like Tonali, he placed bets in Milan because he was involved in like some group that was linked to the mafia, and he got involved in accumulating bets. So that he would play for Milan and he would say, "Well, I'm going to do this on this game, you do that on that game," and he got banned for 9 months, well, over a year, wasn't he? He got banned for.
Yeah, he got banned for
but now he's playing football. But in terms of punishment, this is what I wanted to raise with you earlier. Like, is that punishment of a potential lifetime ban? Do you think that's harsh or not? In this circumstance, so if he gets banned and it's a lifetime ban, do you think that's harsh?
I would be surprised if it's a lifetime ban. I think they're mooting a lifetime ban just so they've got something to bring down. You know, like how I haven't got an example off the top of my head, but like I just think it's something where you can say, "This is what we think." 13 months total for who?
Tonali.
Oh, okay, right. So, you know, I think they'll be mooting a number, lifetime ban, but then they'll go after the evidence and we've heard the case or whatever, 9 months, make better choices, whatever. But I just think it's something that they can dangle and then they can give a more realistic. Because, you know, if Ivan Toney's only getting 9 months and Tonali's getting 13 total, then you can't then turn around and be like, "We're going to ban you for life, mate, for 100 grand.
Pogba got banned for 4 years for doping, which got reduced to 18 months.
Yeah.
Now, is drugs and performance enhancing medication any worse than betting?
I don't know. I think it depends on. Do you know what? I think it depends on the sport. In footballing context, I don't know. Like if you look at like boxing doping, for example, if you dope in boxing, you could bloody kill someone, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Or even 100 meter sprint. Yeah, that's what I mean. Drugs is far worse than someone going there and placing a bet.
Yeah, okay.
Like what footy corner said. Yeah. But it's something worse, right? So this is something that kind of baffles me in terms of punishment of actions in football, right? So Paquetá's playing football and he's getting yellow cards. That's what he's getting punished for, right? I'm not supporting spot fixing. I think it's wrong. I hope he's innocent, but there's no smoke without fire. So we'll leave that there. But there was a chairman of a Greek football club, PAOK, right? PAOK Telekinesi, I think they're called, right?
This one who ran on the pitch.
He ran on the pitch, right, because the referee was making bad decisions in the game. But he not only did he run on the pitch, he ran on the pitch with a gun. He had a gun in his holster, and he was threatening the referee to do a better job in terms of officiating the game, right? So his name was Savidis, right? It was a Greek-Russian entrepreneur, and he was the owner of PAOK, right? So he was initially sentenced for 25 months imprisonment, suspended for 3 years. Right, that was after being found guilty of illegal entry into a stadium with possession of weapons. That's not football related, right? So that is a criminal offence.
Yes.
Apart from the criminal aspect of the sports justice system had punished PAOK FC president, right? They punished him with a 3-year stadium ban and a fine of €100,000. So this to me, it's like owning a weapon and entering the field of play despite not being a player is less punishable than a player playing football getting yellow cards.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that justified? I don't think it is. And then what makes it worse is that the sentence was handed down by an appeal court and it was reduced to 8 months with a 3-year suspension.
I don't know what to tell you, mate. I don't know what to tell you, mate.
That's what I mean. There's a guy on there that's put potentially people's lives at risk by owning a weapon on the field of play when he's not even a footballer, but he owns the club and thinks he can do it, and then gets punished 8 months, suspended, ban, €100,000 fine. guys are worth $1.3 billion. No,
There's probably something else at play there. There's probably something else at play there.
Well, I'm not going to allude to it, but I dare say a brown envelope has probably been involved.
Well, that's what I was thinking. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean. I think in terms of the Paquetá thing, in retrospect of the punishments in football that have occurred over the past 5 to 10 years,
yeah,
I can see Paquetá being found guilty to an extent.
Yeah.
By having lack of evidence to support his claim, and I think he'll. But it all depends on the Brazilian court hearing. If the Brazilian court hearing finds a little morsel, the FA will use that and punish him and then wipe it clean, because they have to act, because it was raised by the betting governance body, and the UK government are involved because of it. So yeah, that's just that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to discuss, Rob? No, it's
fine. It was great. I was going to talk about a potential for a new sporting director at Arsenal and being very heavily linked with Andrea Berta, but we can do that next week.
Yeah, can do. And we could also talk about the potential of Dan Ashworth being West Ham's new sporting director. So maybe next week can be a sporting director special. Okay,
we can do that. Yeah, so we'll talk about our clubs, and then we'll do the sporting directors.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, and pal. Well, now it's morning for us.
It's what?
Now it's morning for us, as Footy Corner alludes. We're going to shoot off now. And now, thanks to those who watched and commented on the comments below. You can find us online on X or Twitter, as whatever you'd like to call it, at DADCHAT Pod. And the same handle goes to Instagram as well, as we find a few short videos of Rob staying humble, videos of me playing with Paw Patrol toys and just being stupid dads. But yeah, now thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys later.
Ta-ra.